Simon, you mentioned Ole Gunnar Solskjaer as we came up to the 12 noon bulletin there. Ole got his coat and returned to Old Trafford for the first time since his sacking, watched Manchester United beat Wolves, and they maintain their hold in the top four. Before the match, he was speaking. Amongst other things, he called on the Glazer family to essentially sell up. Says Ole, the takeover needs to be done. Old Trafford is neglected. The training ground has been neglected. We need to catch up with the other teams. Nobody knows this, but there were some talks with Nice and Sir Jim Ratcliffe because they wanted me. I'm not sure Ratcliffe can get the whole lot. I think he only wants 51%. It's a difficult one. I know almost everybody in the game finishes with, it's a difficult one. It's not really difficult. At the end of the day, Ole should know that the training ground maybe isn't what it should be because he was there often enough. Ole should know that the inside of Old Trafford is maybe not what it should be because he knows parts of it that you and I have not been into. So, I mean, his comments are relevant, are they not?
Well, they're relevant to the audience that he's playing to because they want rid of the Glazers. They want a takeover, and they want Jim Ratcliffe to buy the football club in precisely the terms that they think they're able to get him to buy it and do precisely what they think he should do with it. Now, it's ironic that people that are prepared to work for these sort of people for 3 years now suddenly come back with a degree of balls about what should and shouldn't be being done in the football club by also saying precisely nothing, presiding over a period that I think actually did more to denigrate the football club in terms of its culture and attitude than any of the managers that have been there since Ferguson. Because whilst people think I've got this agenda against Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, I just think that he represented the living, walking, absolute embodiment of mediocrity being rewarded in sport. An unavoidable mistake by winning a game against PSG, got them into a situation where they gave a guy a job and left him in situ for 2 or 3 years. Yes, you can point to second in the table at a time. They wouldn't get second in the table with that side that Solskjaer produced in recent seasons.
Yeah, but he did get a couple of top four finishes.
And that's fine. And that's fine. And that argument can be made against the competitivity of the league and the teams that are in it and how well they were playing at the particular time. But it was also a cultural shift in what players thought they had to do, what the culture of Man United suddenly became. And I think it was fundamentally wrong. Now, if you're going to make these observations, which is entirely, he was asked the questions, what's slightly more concerning for United fans is that Jim Ratcliffe wanted to employ him at Nice. So by that logic, you might find him back at Old Trafford at some point.
I mean, he is saying, to be honest, Martin, to be fair to Ole, and I know, Simon, you've got your view of Ole and you're sticking to it and you're quite entitled to do just that. He says, I called United about 6 months before I took over and told them that I had this striker, but they didn't listen. He's talking about Erling Haaland. He said, I asked for £4 million for Haaland, but they didn't sign him.
Yeah, it's crazy.
They could have had Haaland.
Yeah, and of course his inside knowledge as well on the player, and he would have known. Probably they just didn't trust him, didn't believe in Solskjaer enough to take on board that information. But maybe it was very obvious, wasn't it? Maybe there were other things, other clubs coming in with more money. But to say he could have got him, I mean, what a signing he would have made if he was able to keep him and build around him as Man City are right now. Because Haaland's just starting to go to another level. He's only a baby. What is he? 22 years of age. So yeah, that was a massive miss for Manchester United.
Do you feel that, I mean, Sammy, basically the bottom line is you don't want to hear from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer about United, about the takeover, about the state of the stadium, the state of the training ground, or anything. Is it your opinion, if it was so bad, why are you only opening up now about it?
Well, I'm assuming that if you're the manager of Man United for 3 years and have spent significant money during that period of time, which he did, he'd be able to convince Man United to spend £4 million on a punt. I'm assuming he'd be able to do that when he comes in the door. I'm assuming that. It's all well and good. We can all describe visions when the vision arrives. He's now telling us that this success of Erling Haaland was an opportunity missed by Man United because he had the zeitgeist. I mean, I've got plenty of Norwegian friends. I see them a lot in Marbella, and they cannot believe the fortune that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer got to get the job in the first place. They think he's the luckiest Norwegian alive. So when you come back into a space and you've worked for these guys, you work for them. Whether you liked it or not, you work for them. You took their money and you made a decision. Now you're going to come back and play to the gallery. Now, if the framing of the conversation was, do you think it's better that the takeover is done? Yeah, if there's a takeover being mooted, it's always better that it's either killed or cured, i.e. the takeover manifests itself or it doesn't. Because what it does is it gives people an excuse. And football and footballers and football managers don't need any more excuses. They've got plenty of them already available.
I think Ole's just been honest, hasn't he, Jim, really? He's been asked the question. I mean, when he was a player there, they were top in class for everything. They had the best ground, they had the best training ground, and the most important thing, we've been talking about
You
Spurs
just told
here.
me it was the biggest bodies in the building was the most important thing.
And they had the best team on the pitch as well. Spurs can never say that. Tottenham, Manchester United can.
So are you?
So
saying,
he's well versed to be able to.
That
He's
United's
well placed.
training ground was better than yours.
I always felt that they were leading the way.
Did you go to Man United's training ground?
We went there when we were kids, when we were very
But did you
young.
go to the Man United training ground when you were comparing like for like?
Yes, I did. I went there.
So you thought it was better than Arsenal's?
No, I didn't.
So make your mind up
I
then.
didn't think
Was it better than
necessarily.
Arsenal's?
I didn't think it. What was interesting was when we did when the England team was training, we weren't allowed to go actually into the building. We were only allowed to circumnavigate around it. But when they came to our training ground, everybody walked through the front door and was in our building.
But that's a different
we weren't
point.
allowed in the building. So I couldn't actually tell you.
London Colney was a great training ground, and not only did it produce a great culture, but the training ground gives you the facilities and the environment. Most of the time, you've got a situation. I was listening to Tim Sherwood the other day talking about how when Blackburn won the Premier League, they walked across training ground pitches, scooping up dog's poop off it, and waited for people to walk around the side of it because the culture of the football club superseded the facilities. You guys
this
are
is Manchester United we're talking about.
I know it is.
They can be and were the best of everything.
But it's very lazy.
What's wrong with someone saying no? We want that back again?
You're not winning the league.
Glazers taking money out, not pumping it back in, not caring. You care, you love for the club.
That's
the
fine,
buildings
Martin.
are working.
And that's fine,
you
Martin.
set a standard.
That's fine, Martin. You're doing very well playing to the gallery today.
No,
but let's look at it, right?
I'm not trying to play to a gallery.
You're telling me Leicester won the bleeding Premier League because their training ground was worse or better than everyone else's
back in the day.
So it's got nothing to do with training grounds or the leak in the Old Trafford. It's got everything to do with what happens on the pitch, which comes down to you
want
and
both,
your
though,
mates.
You want both, don't you?
In an ideal world. But they're not mutually exclusive.
Manchester United had all three of those.
So you say, but you've just turned around and suggested that maybe Arsenal's training ground was better than Man United's. So with that in mind, these are things that are used to beat people with when other people don't do their jobs. In an ideal world, we have all aspects, everything tied up in a nice bow. But when it comes down to it, to hoist you by your own petard, you turn around and said, forget the training grounds, forget all this, get the right bodies in the building. Now that you get the right bodies in the building, actually, the reasons why they're not successful is because they've got a leak in the roof at Old Trafford.
We're talking about Manchester United.
It's a silly,
on the one hand,
silly emotional argument.
We're talking about one club that's winning copious amounts of trophies, or were, and they want to return to their former standards, and that's the best in class training ground,
and
guess
what, Martin?
And team.
They never had.
Spurs have never done that, and they've got their priorities wrong. They've done it the wrong way around.
They never had. Even in their pomp, even with you lot bowling around thinking that you were better than you were, they never had a competition like Man City. Never. No one has seen a side come into this league with this kind of money, this kind of resource, this kind of unequivocal commitment, year after year after year, for 14 years from an ownership model. Nobody has seen it. And United might be having the same argument, even if Ferguson was there with Guardiola and Man City now. Because the problem is the bar has moved, the needle has gone off the dial, and so it's really kind of unfair just go it's leaks and ceilings, it's owners taking dividends. It's really to do with the fact that maybe cyclically things change.
The bar is higher now.
Should the Glazers not pump more
that.
money in? Why are they taking money out then? Why do they feel like
because that's
they
their
become
model.
second best to Man City?
Because that's their model, isn't it? I don't think it's the right model for them. I think they could do better. I think, but the argument actually, Martin, that they don't spend enough money, they've spent more money than everyone else. They've just spent it badly. Again,
does it gain anything by Solskjaer talking about the training ground, Simon? By Ole talking about Old Trafford, the stadium? At this stage in the proceedings, does it not just look a bit like sour grapes whenever he talks like anything like that?
No, I think it
because he gets a bum's rush.
I think it shows you the mentality of someone that always fitted in. He fitted in the United treble-winning side by being on the bench, never being a problem. He fitted in by finding himself in a culture of Manchester United where he never really pushed the envelope and actually suggested that it was actually okay for Man United not to win things, right? And then allowed the lunatics to run the asylum. He's now fitting in by being back at Man United to read the room. What's the room? Hang on a second, I can't hear it. You all hate the Glazers. Why is that? Didn't invest in the stadium, didn't invest in the training ground, and a takeover needs to happen. And by the way, Jim Radcliffe's to buy the lot. I'll tell you that.
I've got to say to you, this is a United fan. Simon, a bit of nasty vitriol on Ole. Ole improved United no end. Second place, European finals, FA Cups, total toss.
Bring him back then.
Do much.
Bring him back then.
I think he was just voicing his opinion, wasn't he? As Simon does every day on this show.
Bring him back. I think most people in football watch that. Most serious people that manage football clubs at the highest level and own football clubs. I looked at that and went, "Where's this going? Where's this culture going?" If you, as an individual fan, think that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was the right fit for your football club, well done.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.